to Women's Sports Weekly, where women's sports happens every day, but we talk about it once a week. I'm Carolyn.
And I'm Danielle. Women's Sports Weekly is a podcast where we discuss the latest news, explore interesting stories, and share our love for women's sports. Follow us on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok at Women's Sports Weekly Pod. Follow us and rate us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
Danielle, our listeners have been anxiously awaiting since our last episode. You ran a half marathon and you said you were going to give us an update. So how did it go?
I am sure everyone's so invested. It went well. I did not PR like I was hoping to. Second best overall time. And I was honestly just happy with how I did. It was a fun day. I feel like I'm in pretty good race shape for myself. Mm-hmm. And overall, I'm just really happy with how it went. PR or not.
That's great. I was worried because I like to see you succeed, and you did succeed no matter what. I like to see you happy. Mm-hmm. So I was worried that if you didn't hit the PR that you weren't going to be happy, but you tore your Achilles a couple of years ago. And since then it's been a process to get back to where you are now. And I feel like two things happened. One, you're getting faster, and two, your outlook of it doesn't need to be a PR in order for it to be successful have really changed, where you can still see success even if it's not a PR since your injury.
The reason I was not overly upset is I know I did everything in my power to train the best I could to get to the point that I was at. And I knew a PR would be a stretch just based on where my pieces were during my training. But I think the only way I could have been upset in that situation is if I didn't work as hard as I did, because I would have left something on the table. But that's the hardest I've ever trained for a half and maybe even a marathon. Just overall across the board, the types of workouts I was doing, way different than anything I've done. So that's why I can't be upset, because I know I did what I had to do to put my body in that situation. I'm just not there, and that's okay.
Both of us, as we get older, are more attached now to the process rather than to the outcome. Are we taking care of ourselves during the process? And if the answer is yes, then the outcome is the outcome, and you do the work and you just put the work in and see what happens.
Yep. And obviously I'm still very competitive, so I wasn't thrilled, but at the same time, it wasn't something I was going to be upset over and let it ruin my day. Overall, I was really happy with how it went.
I'm really proud of you. I hope you're proud of yourself.
Thanks.
Love to see you set goals and just go after them with like such a tenacity. It is, one, very attractive, and two, one of the things that I just find super admirable about you.
Well, thanks. How did you feel this way when I set a goal of building ourselves a patio this weekend?
What a segue. You should be getting paid with that segue. You had a really great idea to work on our backyard this weekend, which this past weekend was Memorial Day. And what my idea of what to do on a long weekend and your idea of what to do on a long weekend are a little bit different. So you had a really grand plan of putting in pavers for a patio. We are going to lose our non-millennial listeners with this conversation, but we're going to go for it.
We are, because, and to your point, ever since we bought this house, any long break I have from work, and not even that a 3-day weekend is long, but since we bought it, I find a project to do, whether it's painting. Last year over 4th of July, I painted the entire living room and upstairs and upstairs hallway. Last Memorial Day, we moved in, we painted a ton. So yes, my idea is, what can we get done at the house? And my thought is, it's going to make us both happier long term.
We're going to have a nicer outdoor area to be part of, but I am a Taurus girly, and Taurus girlies love to enjoy the finer things in life, but do not like to do the work to enjoy those finer things. And man, have we put in some work.
Yes, my body. I don't think I've ever been so sore in my life. I just want to say, I think I got bamboozled by the online DIYers saying that a patio project would be quote unquote easy.
Easy. And how many hours?
No, Carolyn, I'm not going the hours. Most people say it could be done in a weekend, which we did.
I was under the impression that this was
don't know where you got this.
An 8-hour job. This was not an 8-hour job. We started when? Wednesday night? Mm-hmm. Wednesday night, we started digging up our backyard to make room for these pavers. Then we just kept on going through the process. I mean, digging up the backyard alone took so long. We have this huge dirt pile now. Then we went and got the pavers. And then there's all these other things you need to put down that we're going to put people to sleep. But you need to put down
paver base and paver sand and then the pavers. The pavers we chose just happened to be 44 pounds. So we were like,
and we
how
needed
are we going to get
them.
100 pavers to our house? After putting paver sandbags in our car, we realized was weighing our car down. So we knew there was no way we were fitting those pavers.
So then we had to rent a car. Then
a moving truck.
We had to put the pavers on the truck. Then we had to take the pavers off the truck.
It was like an AMRAP.
It was like an AMRAP, which is a CrossFit term for like as many rounds as possible.
How many rounds did it take to get all of the equipment out of the moving truck? The amount of bags and pavers and
at least 120 sandbags that we moved multiple times. Pavers, 100 of them.
Over 100.
Over 100 that we moved at least 2 times each. Mm-hmm. We lifted tons of weight this weekend. I looked at you and I was like, do I have abs yet? Am I in the physical shape of an Olympian? Because the amount of work I did, I feel like I should be cut, ripped, and ready for the Olympics.
A little dramatic. All I know is I have cuts on every part of my body. I have bruises and I'm just overall exhausted.
And can you tell the listeners how many mental breakdowns I had?
That was exhausting too. You probably had a mental breakdown one every 4 hours.
Once every 4 hours. Yeah, that's about right. Where I looked at Danielle and I said, this is not going to work. I'm leaving. I must take a break. I had to take a little time out, regroup. Mostly I just had to like eat something because I get really hangry.
Yep.
And then I recomposed myself, came back outside, apologized, and got back to work.
To be expected. It was definitely a lot more work. I knew it was going to be a lot of work. It was a lot more work than I realized it was going to be.
It looks fabulous.
I was just going to ask, what do you think about it?
It looks really good. Maybe we'll have to post a picture for our listeners if anyone is interested in seeing this. It looks really, really nice.
We just have to get rid of the dirt pile and then finish the rest of the backyard, and I think we'll be really happy. But I'm happy with the patio.
Love it. And we'll never, ever do this again. And I will be hiring out for the rest of our home projects.
I'll wait till next Memorial Day and sneak another project up on you.
Until I forget. Whew, okay, let's actually get into why we're here, which is to talk about women's sports. So let's get into the highlight reel. I need to do one thing in my first highlight, and I need to highlight my sister Allie. She coaches high school softball in North Jersey, and they had their county tournament, and they made it all the way through, and they won their county tournament. I am so
exciting.
So happy for her, so happy for her team, so happy for the other coaches on the team. They do the work of preparing young women to go off to college, and some of them play in college, some of them don't, but I really think that high school sports is a way to make young women really formidable, really responsible, know how to work on a team, and they do that. And I'm just so proud of my sister and happy for her and happy for the team. And it's just a great, great accomplishment to win a county tournament. So
that's so amazing. And I feel like coaches sometimes get overlooked when teams win because you just don't realize how much work goes into coaching. All coaches. So.
And they don't get paid enough. High school coaches
Especially
do not get paid enough. But you won your county tournament in high school, didn't you?
I triple crowned.
Oh, gosh.
My senior year of high school. County, state, and league. You asked.
I did. I stepped
but
right
it's not
into
about
that.
me. Congratulations to Allie and her team.
And let's get into the rest of the highlights for the week. Take it away, Danielle.
There were a ton of WNBA games on this week, as to be expected with the season starting. And I'm going to highlight a game earlier in the week, which was Indiana Fever versus Connecticut Sun. The Sun ended up winning 88-84. I really thought this was going to be the Fever's first win. Watching them, I just thought this was the best they had looked to that point in this season. And then I'll just go through the game a little bit. Both teams were tied at 26 to end the first quarter. So right off the bat, it was a battle. Caitlin Clark went out in the second quarter with a nasty ankle roll. They did the replay. Ooh. It was gross. And I did not think she was going to come back from that. Honestly.
I always have to shade my eyes and ask you what it looks like whenever
I wish I didn't look.
I know. Whenever there's an injury, I do not want to see people get injured. I don't want to see an ankle roll. I don't want to see a knee hyperextend. I don't want any slow motion replay of that. And I just have to close my eyes and pretend that I'm not looking, and then I just ask you how bad it was.
I wish I did that, but I sadly saw it. So didn't think she was going to come back. Fever was up 44-42 at half. Clark ended up coming back for the second half. Fast forward to the fourth quarter. Caitlin Clark hit a huge logo 3. The crowd went absolutely nuts, really fired up. Alyssa Thomas then steals the ball from Caitlin Clark with a little under 4 minutes left.
And Alyssa Thomas does not come to play around.
So she steals the ball. Clark committed a transitional foul. And right after that got teed up in addition to that. So I'm looking,
so
I'm
like 2 fouls in a row.
Yes.
Great.
So
Good
I'm
thing
looking,
they get 6.
And I'm like, what just happened? And even Rebecca Lobo, who was announcing the game, was like, do you think that was warranted, her foul? Like, that's what they were talking about, because no one really saw what happened. And surely enough, they did a slow-mo and she looked right at the ref and said, that's not an effing foul. And even Rebecca Lobo was like, yep, that was warranted. And I was thinking the same thing as I was watching. So was not great that she did that. But anyways, got the 2 fouls.
That's a slow-mo that I don't mind seeing, when people are cursing and you get to watch it in slow motion.
Yeah, I was like, oh, shit. That really hurt them. And I would say that was kind of the nail in the coffin, as one would say.
Yeah.
The Indiana Fever ended up losing that 88-84.
The biggest difference that I think that I see between the WNBA and college play, and there are a lot of differences, but the thing that I notice the most is the physicality. They let these women knock into each other, talk that talk, which I love, and it is really, really physical. In a really good way. I love it because I think in college they blow the whistle way too much, and I understand why they do it, but these are now professional women who are playing, and they know how to kind of handle themselves, which is great. Later in the week, Alyssa Thomas did get herself ejected for
I saw that
hard foul on Angel Reese. They do have some parameters, but they do let them play quite a bit. And the Fever did get their first win this week against the LA Sparks in a 78-73 win over the Sparks. I've been waiting for the Fever to kind of get moving. And in that game, Kelsey Mitchell finished with 18 points, and Aaliyah Boston finally started looking a lot more like herself and finished with 17 points. So I'm excited for them to just get into a groove where it's not so, I just feel bad for them when I'm watching.
Yeah, they look a little rough.
Yeah, but it seems like they're on a trajectory right now. This past week, they've hit a little bit of a turning point where they're starting to find their groove. And the other thing we have to remember is I think they said they had 9 practices from the preseason to their first game. Everyone had a limited number of practices.
Preseason is so short.
And I am just like, how do you build any team cohesion? It just must be really, really difficult for these WNBA players.
For sure. And when you look at the Aces and New York Liberty, they have so many players who come back and it
have
shows
played on the same
and even
team.
the Sun, they've been playing together for a while, and it's like those teams, you see the difference.
And I wonder on a professional team, like in college, we used to do like a lot of team building exercises, and they were mandatory things. I wonder in the pros if how much of that is happening where you have to interact with the people around you, or is it a job that you show up to and you watch your film and then you come to practice and you do your job, but there's not necessarily that teammate to teammate relationship unless you're like the Aces or the Liberty and you have the same people coming back every year.
I would think it's a bit of both, but I'm honestly not sure.
So interesting to see as this WNBA season rolls on. It is a long season. These teams, because there's only 12 teams in the league, they play each other a ton. So you get to know everyone. You know everyone's scouting report as the season goes on. It'll be really fun and interesting to watch. Let's get into women's lacrosse, the national championship.
Oh my gosh.
Go for it.
This game was absolutely insane. Everything you would want in a national championship game, this game was it. Boston College beat Northwestern in the national championship 14-13. As a reminder, Boston College lost to Northwestern in the national championship last year, 18-6.
A beatdown.
So I think this was a bit of a revenge tour. Boston College finished the season with 20 wins for the 3rd time in program history. Cool fun fact, the senior class bookends a national title after capturing a championship in 2021 as freshmen.
So they won as freshmen and now they've won as seniors.
They've also been in the national championship the last 4 years. So those freshmen have been in the national championship every single year they've been there, and they won the first and now won this one. Crazy.
Lacrosse is not my sport. I watch it because you really enjoy it. And I was watching this game, and at the end, I had tears in my eyes. Mm-hmm. That's how exciting the game was, and that's how much emotion.
I was getting chills the entire game.
And the fans for both sides.
Going nuts.
I felt like they all collectively took some kind of adrenaline drug.
Northwestern fans not only had purple wigs on, some of them even went to the extent to paint their bodies purple
body paint. It was crazy.
And Boston College was wearing their classic neon shirts.
Yes.
So a neon crowd and a purple crowd.
Purple people crowd.
And you could just see the emotion in their faces. Boston College, who ended up winning, was down 6-0 after the first quarter. I was like, this is going to be a beatdown again.
As we're moving our patio pavers, we're listening and we're like, the TV, 6-0. What's going on?
So they didn't take their first lead until there were 9 minutes and 39 seconds left in the game. Izzy Skane from Northwestern, who we've talked about, ends her career as the all-time leading goal scorer in NCAA history with 371 goals. And 5 of them were in this national championship game. Kayla Martello from Boston College was most valuable player, and she had 5 goals on 7 shots. So really good shot percentage there.
That is amazing. But there's one person who I think should get most valuable player.
I agree.
And you need to talk about Shea Dolce, the goalie from Boston College.
She was my MVP, honestly, watching this game. She had a total of 9 saves throughout the game. Oh my goodness. Some of the saves were insane. With under a minute to go, they were up 14-13, and Northwestern had a chance to tie it after a penalty. And lacrosse penalties blow my mind. They just charge at the goalie. It's not like a soccer penalty where you're on your line, you blow the whistle, and you have to shoot from that line. Like,
yeah, they can get a running start.
These players just start running at the goalie. Like, it's terrifying. Shea jumps in the air, kicks both feet out, and the ball nails her. I don't know if it was her foot or her shin.
Wherever
Even
it was.
Even in slow-mo, it was hard to tell, but she kicked that thing sideways to make the save.
It was the most insane save I've ever seen.
Literally the play of the game right there.
Yes.
Just overall, really happy for Boston College. I've watched them quite a bit this season, so I was honestly rooting for them because I feel like I've gotten to know some of their players. Mm-hmm. What a game to watch. That, especially the fourth quarter.
Yes, we had to pause our pavers, come inside, and watch the end. And like I said, just tears in my eyes because to see both teams just work so hard to get to this point and to see elation on one side and then sadness on the other. It's one of the many reasons why I love sports, because you can turn this on and see the emotion from the fans, the coaches, the players. It's what being a sports fan is all about.
For sure. So congratulations to Boston College. Fly, Eagles, fly.
Ew, Danielle. I'm
not saying this about Philly Eagles. Boston College is the Eagles, so I thought it was appropriate.
Okay, fine. All right, we're going to do another scouting report today where we kind of dive into a team, talk about them a little bit, but we're switching sports and we're talking about the U.S. Women's National Team because we are preparing for the Olympics and we're getting ready for some friendlies.
What else are we preparing for and what's happening next weekend?
Oh, we're also going to try to go to the game. We're definitely tailgating the game.
The U.S. Women's National Team is coming to Denver.
Yes. And we'll get into that a little bit more. Emma Hayes is the official coach of the U.S. Women's National Team. Very exciting. She coached at Chelsea in Europe for 12 years in England. She has won 7 league titles with them, 5 FA Cups, 2 League Cups, a Champions League final, and the 2021 FIFA Coach of the Year honors. We need her. The U.S. Women's National Team needs her.
She's a boss.
She is now finally here. I also saw that she's friends with Dawn Staley.
That's sick.
Some kind of relationship where they chat with each other, and they need a reality TV show. I want to see them interact. I want to see what they talk about. I want to see where they go out to eat. You know, all those things.
I'll let my boy Champ know, and maybe he could get us the hookup.
Champ is the dog.
Dawn Staley's dog. Moving on.
Under head coach Emma Hayes for the U.S. Women's National Team, she released her first roster of 23 players for the upcoming friendlies in June against South Korea. As a reminder, only 18 players make the roster for the Olympics. This is her first roster of 23. 3 goalkeepers, Jane Campbell, Aubrey Kingsbury, Casey Murphy.
Why isn't Alyssa Nair on there? Did I miss something?
Alyssa Nair has been out with a leg injury.
I did miss this.
And she is not on this friendlies roster.
No.
So the hope is that she can recuperate before the Olympics. Scary to think of Alyssa Nair not with us. For defenders, there are 7: Tierna Davidson, Emily Fox, Naomi Girma, and guess what?
What?
I got a Naomi Girma uniform.
Nice.
Yes.
Did you get me one?
No, I didn't get you one, but that was what came in the mail, and I said I don't want to tell you what it is. I'll tell you later.
I'm glad you thought of me when you bought yourself a uniform. I'll remember that.
Excuse me. I love Naomi Girma, and I needed it. Okay. Naomi Girma, Casey Kruger, Jenna Neiswanger, Emily Sonnet, Sam Staub. We'll get into her. Midfielders, 7: Corbin Albert, Sam Coffey, Hal Hirschfeld, talk about her too. Lindsay Horan, Rose Lavelle, Lily Johannes. We'll talk about Lily as well. And then forwards, we have 6: Crystal Dunn, listed as a forward. Kat Macario, Alex Morgan, Trinity Rodman, Sophia Smith, Mallory Swanson. Holy moly, those forwards.
Trinity Rodman, by the way, great follow on TikTok.
Yeah. You got to do it.
Just got to let everyone know that.
So there are also 3 training players added into the mix. So these are the people who practice but aren't necessarily listed on the roster. And they are midfielders Olivia Moultrie, Croy Bethune, and defender Kate Weisner. There's some players to highlight and there's some players missing. For me, Croy Bethune, she's a rookie in the NWSL. She plays for the Washington Spirit. As of right now, she has the most assists in the NWSL and she has 3 goals. When I was looking at the roster, I was like, where is Croy Bethune?
And it's wild to think that they practice but don't travel.
Yes. I think it's a chance for Emma Hayes to see them in practice and how they work.
I understand it. I just think that must be really hard. Maybe for them it's exciting. They're just happy to be there because 18 spots out of the whole league, that's crazy. It's not many spots.
It's very, very competitive.
And when you're thinking about your position, that it's not like you're fighting for one of 18. If you have 6 forwards and you're a forward, you're fighting for 1 out of 6. That just to break it down even more, that's insane.
Yeah. So players to highlight. Crystal Dunn is labeled as a forward. She can play anywhere. She said that multiple times. Most of the time she's played defense for the U.S. women's national team. But she said she loves the forward spot. So I don't know if Emma Hayes is listening. I don't know if she's doing it to put more pressure on the forwards. That forward class is really good. Really, really good. I don't know if Emma Hayes is thinking that she wants more of a defensive forward, someone who can come back and play a little bit of defense. It's going to be very interesting to see how this all plays out. I am trying to get into the head of Emma Hayes and see what she is trying to plan and figure out here. And she is playing some mind games right now. And I'm all about it because the pressure is on and we need to do well in this Olympics.
Oh, I hate when coaches play mind games.
I mean, yes.
I disagree.
Okay. Lily Johannes is 16 years old. She plays for Ajax in the Netherlands.
How is that even possible? 16.
Yep. She is listed on the roster. She moved to the Netherlands when she was 10 years old. She is trying to get Dutch citizenship from what I'm reading and was invited to the U19 camps for the Netherlands in 2023. So it will be very interesting. She's on the roster right now, but if she gets that Dutch citizenship, she might be moving over to the Netherlands. I don't really know how that works, but eyes are on her. 16 years old. She's very young. I think it depends on how she's utilized and if she's utilized in a way that she likes, or how well she does. If the Netherlands wants to come in and sweep her, the Netherlands is a great team. So either she's got 2 great options if she gets her citizenship. Another player I wanted to highlight was Mallory Swanson. She has 89 appearances for the U.S. women's national team. She was part of the squad that won the 2019 Women's World Cup in France. She is on this team now looking to add to her 32 goals and 27 assists in international play. And I wanted to mention her because she's coming back from an injury in April of 2023 from a friendly game. It was a horrible, horrible injury. It is so great to have her back. She is doing really well in the NWSL. So I'm looking forward to kind of see her hit some strides. And she's a Taurus girly like me. We actually have the same birthday, which I was...
Wow.
It's so cool when you have the same birthday as an absolute baller.
Birthday twins.
Yes. We are probably not alike in a lot of ways. But for some reason, when you share a birthday with someone, you're like, yeah, I think we're very similar.
Wow. Try out for the team.
Yeah. I wouldn't last one step. Okay, so we have some new people to the roster. So 2 players have earned their first senior national team call-ups One of them is Sam Stabb, who is a center back with the Chicago Red Stars. She has made 100 consecutive starts in the NWSL.
Wow.
100 consecutive starts. That means,
She
and I'm
stayed
knocking
healthy.
on all the wood, she is staying healthy.
Mm-hmm.
She is consistent, and she's making her appearances. So again, in my head, I'm trying to get into Emma's head, and I'm like, okay, she's looking for consistency. She's looking for versatility. And then the second one is Hal Hirschfeld, who plays for the Washington Spirit. She is a midfielder. She is a rookie from Clemson. And I showed you her Instagram the other day because I was like, look at how beautiful she is.
Oh, yes. Go Tigers.
No, not go Tigers. She is also an amazing player. Let's get into those who are notably absent.
Yeah, what the heck, Lynn Williams? Where is she? I already asked about Alyssa Nair.
Lynn Williams not on the roster for these friendlies. She just broke the NWSL scoring record.
I saw that. So what's the deal?
I don't know.
Interesting.
It is very interesting to me that she's not on there. I don't know if they're looking for a younger team, but that's not
it.
And
it should
it's
be
not,
play the best players.
Yes. And you can't say that because like Alex Morgan's on the team, you know, like there are some players who are a little bit, and when I say older, I'm like in their 30s, right? They're not actually older,
Right.
but they're not 16 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what's happening there. I think there are a lot of great forwards in the U.S. Just looking at them between Jaden Shaw, Trinity Rodman, and Sophia Smith. Sophia Smith is always scoring the most goals in the NWSL. And I don't know, but Lynn Williams can also play defense.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I'm struggling with that one just a little bit. Alyssa Nair, who we mentioned, sustained a thigh injury on May 12th. It's interesting to me that she's not listed on the roster, though, because there are other players named to the roster who are also had injuries. Rose Lavelle had injury. Alex Morgan had an injury. Tierna Davidson, Naomi Girma, and Jaden Shaw.
They must look at the severity of the injury and say, are you seriously going to be back or is there no shot?
Yeah.
That has to be it.
We're heading into the Olympics at the end of July. This is going to be really interesting. It's the era of Emma Hayes.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot wait to see how things kind of move around, who gets called up, who doesn't, unfortunately. I think it's so super competitive. And this is a 23-person roster with 3 training players, so 26, and we have to get down to 18. These friendlies are going to be incredibly important, which brings us into what we're looking forward to this week.
Yes.
So go ahead.
So as I mentioned earlier, the U.S. women's national team is coming to Denver. I love that they call it friendlies. It just reminds me of friendlies from back as a kid, and we'd go eat there.
I went on so many first dates at friendlies.
Wow.
Yeah, because we had one in the small town that I grew up. So we would all walk there. We would get a fribble. Do you remember the fribbles?
No.
And they had these like crazy straws that would turn colors when they would get like cold or hot, you know. I loved that.
Wow. I do miss friendlies. I like their ice cream. But anyways, sidetracked. As I was saying, the U.S. women's national team has their first match versus Korea this Saturday, June 1st at 5 p.m. Eastern in Denver.
So exciting.
So exciting.
We plan to be there, but it will also be playing on TNT and Peacock. This is the first match under Emma Hayes. The U.S. women's national team has 4 friendlies scheduled before their first Olympic match on July 25th. So they have 2 matches against Korea, 1 versus Mexico, and 1 versus Costa Rica before they head out to Paris. So we are going to see the first match. If we get tickets, which we're working on, we are going to see the first match under the Emma Hayes era.
Cannot wait. What else are you looking forward to this week?
The other thing that I want to mention is the Women's College World Series for softball, NCAA softball. There are 8 teams in the 2024 Women's College World Series. It starts on Thursday, May 30th. The 8 teams get separated into 2 groups of 4 and compete in a double elimination format. In those groups of 4, they get a winner from each of those groups. And then those 2, the final 2 teams, play a best of 3 series for the national championship. It is hosted in Oklahoma City, and the first games begin, as I said, on Thursday, May 30th at 12 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN. As of the time we're recording, we have 4 teams for sure that we know are going. They're Florida, Oklahoma State, UCLA, and Oklahoma. We'll get the other 4. You'll probably know the other 4 as this is already released. And then they will head into the Women's College World Series this Thursday. The other thing that I wanted to mention is that UCLA, who will be in the Women's College World Series, has the most national championships of any team. They have 16, but Oklahoma has 7, and they've won the last 3 years.
Wow. I would not think a West Coast team would have the most national championships.
Oh, the West Coast was so dominant.
Interesting.
Yeah, they were
I always
so
think of the
dominant.
SEC when I think of good softball teams.
Yes, the SEC and the Pac-12, and now it's going to be so interesting because the Pac-12 is dissolving.
Disbanding, yeah.
So much to look forward to. There's so much going on between hockey and U.S. Women's National Team and lacrosse and softball. WNBA. It's such a great time to be a women's sports fan. It's making me really, really happy because we are getting more and more text messages from people who listen to our podcast and honestly are watching games and saying, oh my gosh, I just got into lacrosse because you've been talking about it so much and I'm at the bar and we're watching. And it makes me so happy to hear that.
So please tell us that. It really does make our day.
When you reach out to us on Instagram, we really listen. We take all your feedback. And so please continue to do that and tell us the good news too, because we really love it. And that's what keeps us going here. We just love to hear it.
Yes.
So that is it for this week. We will see you next week on Women's Sports Weekly. In the meantime, watch women's sports, rate and subscribe to the pod on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. Share the podcast with your friends and keep sending us topics you want us to cover on Instagram at Women's Sports Weekly Pod. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you next week.